So I don't know if Lyson will use this or not. This is a quick video on my combination uncapper and extractor by Lyson. I've had it a couple of years. I'll put the model number in there when I get a chance. Forgive me, I just don't remember what it is. As a rule, I like it a lot. It'll allow you to do 20 mediums, or I believe it's four deeps in here, but I'll have to double check the numbers. I'm pretty sure that it's just a little too much to try to do a deep here, a deep here, and I think they told me it's better to do one deep in a quarter section, but it will do 20 mediums very easily. I've done that in the past. Some of the things I like, of course, is the uncapping station. You just lean everything right up against here, cap and drain, and it drips over. There's a dual screen where this, well, that's easy, isn't it? See how easy that comes out? This first screen allows the honey to go in there, and then it offsets so the bigger chunks just kind of drain into the contraption. And then there's a second screen in the bottom before it goes out to the honey gate. And I'm going to do some extracting here today or tomorrow. I've pulled my honey supers, but from the look of it, I've got to give this a quick wipe down before I use it. I cleaned it. It's been cleaned a couple of times, but the cleaner I have it, the better. A couple things that I had to do to mod it was I felt more comfortable putting it on wheels so I could move it around the honey / sugar shack. And because of the wobbliness of the overall device, I reinforced the legs. And that seems to work pretty good, both for mounting the hardware so I can roll it around, and to keep it a little more stable when it's flat. The only two complaints I have about it, and they're really just friction points, they're not true complaints, is it's big. So when it comes time to clean, you are cleaning for a while. The other piece is that some of these welds, and I didn't notice when I first bought it, but some of these welds aren't quite even. So I do get a little bit of honey drippage out the bottom. It's not a lot. It's usually a couple of drips per session. It's just enough to make things sticky, and it wasn't even worth it for me to repack it up, bring it back to my beekeeper, my bee supplier, and then and complain about it. Also, I didn't notice it until after the 30-day warranty. But overall, it's a great piece of gear. If you want to be doing multiple supers, I think it's a good way to go. But if you're a smaller operation, it may be a bit too big for you. And this is what happens when the goofy beekeeper isn't fast enough. And we are in a dearth, and Robin is going full tilt. They're not stinging me. They're not really after me. They're certainly after the honey. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling these off, brushing them off with a turkey feather, and I'm putting them in this tote to store overnight when I have a little more time tomorrow, and hopefully the raccoons and everything will get into this. Anyway, extracting adventures. All right, we're finally ready to start using the extractor. I got everything wiped down, dusted off, and ready to go. So next we're just going to show you how I use this contraption. Ooh, there are bees in the bucket. think that was a small hive beetle. Often I use a knife to uncap, but a lot of this is really more sunken in, not sunken in, but is more level with the wood. So cutting it with a knife just isn't going to do the trick. So I'm just going to use the uncapping fork that my friend Dwight left here. My uncapping fork, I took a look in the box and it needs to be soaked and cleaned a little better. But this one's clean and ready to use. So Dwight, if you're watching this video, thank you. As you can see, this setup allows a lot of honey to come off the cappings and hop right in there. And probably one of the only drawbacks, well, I talked a little bit about the seams, talked a little bit about the size. It's a little big for a hobbyist like me who's trying to be a sideliner, but is cleaning it up afterwards. And cleaning this one is not terrible hard. You just rinse it and everything cleans up nice, but you do feel like you're wasting honey. A lot of honey gets rinsed away. I don't know if there's a much better way to do it. It's not like I can take a spatula and kind of scrape the sides like I would with a smaller extractor. That's probably the only big friction point with this as an extractor. But I do like that it's 2-in-1. I like that I don't have to clean multiple pieces of equipment for extracting and for uncapping. You can hear some of the bees in the background that were in my tote. It snuck in there while I was putting frames in there. Little devils. So I'm not going to bore you with uncapping 20 of these, but you get the idea of it. And we'll pause for a few minutes and then go from there. Okay, through the magic of time, I've got 19 of my frames uncapped. There you can see the pile of cappings and 19 in there. It's probably going to be a little off balance, but a lot of frames were lighter than the others, so I'm going to give it a go. And this is really where this particular unit does extremely well with, I just did 2 mediums and I'm going to get those done in one round. So let's start some spinning. And we'll see how it goes. And I don't know if you can hear it, but you can certainly see all the honey getting flung out. And as you can see, this is a radial spinner. It does not seem to have a reverse feature, or at least if it does, I haven't figured out how to use it. But I've been pretty happy with it so far. So we'll pause the video and go from here. Down to my last 3. It is, I'm not going to try to film it because I just don't have enough hands, but these girls still aren't stinging me, knock on wood, but they are getting very, very, I don't want to say aggressive, but they're getting very, very feisty about getting on those supers, or on those frames rather. That is just really something to see. So I didn't get a picture of the turning it off, but really that's the gist of it. So some of these I tried to turn upside down, but you can see they are wet, but it did a pretty darn good job of getting everything out. And although this little batch of late season honey isn't a ton, you can see that, you know, this does 2 mediums at a time. And while it was spinning, I could have been uncapping some more. You know, didn't have it this time around, but hopefully next year. So overall, pretty happy with my little Lyson. It is a bit on the big side for a hobbyist, but if you don't mind the extra volume to clean, it does help make short work. And I think if I had all 10 hives in production, I think I'd have been very happy to be able to crank these out with 10 frames at a time. That's what the doctor ordered. The big question is going to be our water content. But I'm going to wait until it's all in the bucket for that. And then we'll decide if we're going to sell it or if we're just going to make hard cider with it. Either way, it's going to be good. So here we are in the draining mode, and I usually do a couple of things. First is I prop up the backside so that it'll drain a little faster into my strainer. Not a big deal. And then I like to tip the capping tray so that the honey will drip into there, because if I left this capping tray flat, of course, it would be counterintuitive to getting the honey out. Not the fastest process. And again, not the fastest process, but I don't really know what is at this point. And the only drawback is I'm out here in the honey house and not bringing it into the house for, you know, bugs and things like that. But I think it'll be fine, even if I leave it overnight. I'm going to give it a couple more hours and see what happens.